Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
The theme today, or the topic today, is who is on first? Who's on first? You all know that Abbott and Costello routine. I was watching it last night, and I know it so well, but it just builds. So by the 8th minute, I'm just giggling away. It's great. So who is on first? I was having a conversation with my friend Stephanie, and she was telling me about a class that she just did up at her center. She's a staff minister at CSL Rogue Valley, and she did a visioning class. And it was quite a high-attended class. They all met in person. There's one person online, but so it was very exciting. Everyone's in person and they're visioning. And it's a CSL class, but she had this new idea that came to her. She said, with everything going on in the country, she had this idea, what if we also visioned on the United States of America? So she put that out to the class, and they were all for it. So in addition to the class, they all agreed to on their own, every week in between class, they got in groups of 3, and they would get together at least once, whether it was in person or on Zoom, and the 3 of them would vision for the country. So they would do it in class, and then they would do it once in their group of 3. And so the energy started to really become alive as people felt their ownership of being citizens of this country. Part of what inspires Stephanie is she's a world citizen. She was born and raised in England. She speaks 5 languages, has lived all over the world. She actually was introduced to Science and Mind in Johannesburg, South Africa, where she was living with her mom, and then came here, continued on at different centers and graduated at Agape, and then she was overextended her visa, so she went to Johannesburg and went back to start a multi-diverse CSL community there, which she did, Soul Home, but couldn't come back here because she had overextended her visa, and so and then we had 9/11 where the rules got really tough, so for 20 years she couldn't be here, and she teaches English, so she goes to all these countries because she speaks so many languages. It wasn't a program limited to one country. She was traveling all the time, loving her life because she loves to travel. She loves all these cultures of all these different countries. And just about 5 years ago, she could come back into the country. She's married to a United States citizen, and she just recently, within the last year, got her citizenship of the United States. And it really means a lot to her. It's not because she's like, this is the best country. She loves all the culture she's been in, but she sees the power of what we have here. And she tells me, and she always chokes up when she says it, which is very lovely. For me, she had visited me once when I was living in the D.C. area, and my dad lived there, and he took her on a whole tour, as he likes to do, of D.C., there's so much, but to see the nation's history and Library of Congress, Supreme Court, he took her to the archives where she started to read the original copies of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and it totally got to her. And she said, I feel your dad in me all the time. She said, I get what these principles are. They're so beautiful and they're so powerful. And by the way, vision is something that when we have a vision for something, when we say we're visioning, it's not something that's already done. So when we say, well, the people who founded this country weren't living there, no, because vision never meets us where we are. It's always pushing us beyond what's familiar, taking us to a higher place. So it's a vision, and she caught it, and so she brought it into her class. And the part that she said that really garnered her why she wanted to do this, she said, it says, we the people. It doesn't say this country belongs to the leaders or who the president is or who the Congress is. It belongs to all of us. And so we have to claim it. And so she did this with her class. She's actually going to be facilitating a workshop at the CSL conference that's happening in Reno, Nevada, starting Tuesday, April 7th, the week after Easter. So if anyone wants to go, you're all welcome. But she'll be doing this at the conference at a workshop. Whoever decides to attend will be visioning for the United States of America because we're all part of it. This is what ownership looks like. We claim our inheritance. And this is part of our inheritance, that by living in this country, we're claiming it. Ownership is about claiming. But this is also harder in today's world. I remember listening to somebody once who, and I think they said they did this. I think it's hyperbolic. I think they were exaggerating, but the point is still true. They said they spent 2 years just taking in all the pain that was happening in this world all the time. And they said for 2 years they just cried. They couldn't really function because they felt everything that was happening in this world. And of course, there's incredible, beautiful things happening in this world all the time. If we were to actually take in everything that's happening in this world, we wouldn't function. It's just too much. And then I was just reading, just yesterday, someone in the integral world, they're really working on being cosmic center, not world-centric, but cosmic center. Like we are, and like, that's a lot. That's taking a lot of stuff. So, and even as a child, every one of us, because we learn, as a child you care about everybody. You don't have all those boundaries, and we know that we learn, this is my family and that's your family. This is my school, that's your school. This is my city, that's your city. This is my state, this is your state. We do it in sports still. This is my country, that's your country. We do otherness a lot, but we learn that. That's not the natural state of kids. Natural state of kids feel like they belong to everybody, right? Do you remember that when you were a kid, feeling like you belonged to everybody? It wasn't like just my world, although you might have learned that pretty early. It's everybody's world. So where I've come to is these veils of forgetting of who we really are. When we say, so I love that song, I Am That I Am, because that's the truth of us. We are the I Am of the entire cosmos. We are unlimited, multidimensionally in all the different times and space, beyond time and space, this time and space, this present. We're all of it. We're all the past, we're all the future, we're everything. But that is an overwhelming way to live. So the way I'm now describing it to myself is these veils are important because the way Spirit is taking care of itself in the vastness is to have us not focus on all that out there and focus, we're all given our role. We all have our role to play in the vastness of the cosmos. And we're not supposed to be playing every piece. The heart is not supposed to be doing what my leg is supposed to be doing. We have different functions and all different things that we need to be focused on. And that's how Spirit's taking care of itself, as us. So all of us, there can be like, oh, well, you're being self-centered or ego-centered if you're focused on yourself. But when we realize our self is connected to all of it, and we have dominion over ourself, that's the one thing we know we have dominion over. That's actually been an incredible honor and gift that Spirit has given to each of us. That we have this wonderful individual life in God, of which we are responsible. Not just responsible in terms of like, you have to do this, but to love and to nurture and to care for and to heal and to understand, because everything that we're doing for ourselves is connected to everybody else. That's how Spirit's healing the planet, is through each and every one of us. So it's not selfish, it's actually essential. So the place we start with ownership is I can't own anybody here. I don't have the right to own people. We've learned that. It took us a long time as humanity. We don't have the right to own people. But I do have the right to own myself. You have the right to own you. And so then all those questions that we talk about in terms of being leaders of light, it's not about I need to lead other people. There's an idea of leaders like I lead and therefore everyone has to follow me. But then what happens when we have everybody be leaders? And I'm of the ilk, they have this story with women that women fight each other and they can't support one another. That's an old story about women. Well, I think the same thing is true of leaders. You can only have one chief in the kitchen or cook in the kitchen or something. You can't have too many. It's too confusing. So you can't have too many leaders. But I actually find that leaders love other leaders. Leaders actually enjoy other people who take ownership of their life and then you take your ownership of your life and you're working together. And I always go to sports because I guess I've watched a lot more than I realize. That there's all this, like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, they hate each other, or Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, they hate each other. They loved each other. They pushed each other. There was no question there was competition, but they had so much respect for each other because they understood each other. They have that same incredible intensity. I want to be the fullest that I can be. And so it's not that y'all have to be at Michael Jordan's or Kobe Bryant, but that level of ownership to say, I want to continue to grow. I'm committed completely to growing and evolving through all of who I am. So that's this journey that we're all on, is to start owning who we are and how we show up. And that includes a lot of stuff, more today than we've ever had. In the old day, when I was in my social psychology class in the late 1980s, they gave us a research study comparing women in the 1950s and women in the 1980s. And very surprisingly to us in the class, that women in the 1950s reported a much higher state of happiness than women in the 1980s. And their explanation of that was that in the 1980s, women had far more choices than women in the 1950s. So if you're only given a limited amount of choices, you're not like stressing out, I could be doing this, I could be doing that, I should be doing this. You didn't have that. So it's like there was a sense of an acceptance of what was, and they made it work. In the 1980s, you can have a full career, you can be a mom, you have all these options, and those options were causing a lot of stress for women. A lot of, what do I do? So I've been thinking, that's been in my mind, and then thinking about today's world. What do we have in today's world? So many more choices than we've ever had before. There is, even for being on a spiritual journey, what is available today and what was available to me in the 1990s, totally different. There's so much. You can see, just by clicking on your computer, the best talks all over the world. You can have all this access to all these different religions, philosophies, science. There's nothing, business, creativity, art. There's no limit. We literally have everything at our fingertips and just have to go like this. And now we have AI, so now we're like, okay, now which part of this is real? What's not real? They're saying with AI that we're not going to even recognize who we are in 5 years, not 50 years. So change is happening. So I wish I had the statistics, but the statistics of how fast change is happening now versus how it used to take a long time for change to happen, and now it's going choo, 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 choo. So how peaceful are you all feeling? So you have ownership, but you have ownership in an incredibly complicated world. And then I was thinking, this is kind of cool though. Because one of the things we hear a lot about, and I've heard for decades on my spiritual journeys, we have infinite possibilities. But what's interesting is when you say that in the 1990s, infinite possibilities, and what we're talking about now, that word infinite really feels infinite. And this is just beginning, they're saying. So we have access, we can't go based on the past. There is no past that we can, because the past has never been like this. There was a sense of stability before, I think, somewhat. And I think that stability is like, what's real? Someone was talking about a car was driving into the parking lot, and they're like, there's no one driving that car. And it's a self-driving car. We are moving into a whole new world. So now, and we're also saying, and we're owners. We're owners. So we're saying if women in the 80s are feeling like they have more choices now how much do you have to make decisions about? And how many decisions do you have to make constantly? But I'm finding, and this is shifting for me because I'm getting better at it, so I feel better about it, is we're getting better at being able to siphon out who we are actually. because we have all this information and we know we can't do it all, I can't just go and I'm interested in that. No, I'm interested in that. No, I'm interested in that. No, I'm interested in that. At first, I was interested in everything, but I've been able to call. Have you been able to do this? Have you been able to call your list of where your attention goes? And it takes work, because as all these people are saying, they make it to pull your attention in. They're very good at knowing how to pull what they call it, clickbait. Julie, I guess he and his friends, and he brought it home. He called it something bait, like it wasn't clickbait, it was like anger bait or something. And he was saying something incendiary towards me, and then he just started laughing. Ha! That was just bait, you know. And he's very conscious now of like baiting. He baits me. So I do it back to him now. It's really fun. But it's like silly, but it's like this process of like, oh, what is it that grabs me, pulls my attention, and I don't even know that they're doing that? We're getting good at it. You're going through, I've gotten off of most social media, but I'm on Instagram, not participating much, but I do scroll. And what I found is, I like even the animal videos. I used to love animal videos. It turns out we can get saturated with something. I've seen enough animal videos. I just go right by them now. They just like, okay, that's cute. Oh, I've heard that kind of idea before. Oh, this happens to Jack, and I'll say, oh, Jack, watch this. He's like, yeah, I've seen it. You know, I'm like, I can come up and tell you all these great videos, and you're all like, yeah, I heard it, seen it. But with that becomes, oh, okay, I don't need all this stuff. I don't need all this entertainment. What is it that I want? And this becomes, so rather than saying this is terrible, we talk about infinite possibilities. We have so many more possibilities. So it is actually this incredible gift forcing us to say, where do I want to put my attention? Not because I should or have to, but because I want to. And we start taking this ownership of our interior world as never before, of our attention, where we want to put it, because we have so many possibilities and we can't function. There's no joy in doing all of them. So we get to choose. Ownership, right? You're owning where you want to put your attention. You're owning how you want to live your life. And that covers so many areas. There's also the ownership of the different places of which you're a part. How do you want to own how you show up in your family? How do you want to own how you show up in your community? How do you want to own how you show up in your country? How do you want to own how you are a citizen in the world? So there's a lot of ways to say, how do I want to show up as a leader? One of the things I really like about I've been rereading Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of a Highly Effective People. Like many of you, I read it many years ago. And I'm skimming it now because I'm good at skimming. I don't have to read everything. And a lot of it doesn't apply to what I'm thinking about. But he does talk about something, and I'm like, oh, I remember this. The difference between managing and leading. Managing is being very clear about what needs to get done. So I need to get this done. These are my tasks. And we have, so looking at all inside of us. So we have a manager inside of us, and the manager says, I need to get this done, I need to get this done. I know the what of what I need to do. I also have to know the how. How am I going to get this done? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do my taxes? Seriously, how am I going to do my taxes? So I know the what. I know I got to do my taxes. How am I going to do my taxes? The part that he talks about what a leader does is a leader has the vision. Why am I doing this? A leader, and then Simon Sinek, who just recently, I don't know, when I say recently, within the last 5 years, came out with a book that leaders have to, part of what leadership is knowing the why. Why am I putting my attention on this? Why is this my priority? Because what he points to is that's the place that hits our heart and our emotions. The what is we get the tasks. The how is figuring things out. The why is like, why does this human incarnation of which we all have, we're all responsible, we're all taking ownership for our incarnation, and that's to understand a little bit of the why. Why do I have this human incarnation? What am I being called to do? Why has the great cosmos of the universe that is in charge of everything beyond my wildest imagination has decided and chosen to incarnate as me? Why am I here doing what I'm doing? Why am I making these choices? Why do I want to do this? That why is the energy and the motor behind everything else. So in terms of you owning your life, yes, you need to know what you need to do. You need to know how to do it. But you absolutely, as an owner of your existence, ask and answer the question of why. Why am I doing this? Who are you? You are the life of God. You are the life of God as you. And say your name, because that's who you are. The I am is infinite, and who you are is your beautiful, radiant, powerful, brilliant self. Say your name. I also want to talk about ownership in spiritual community. Since we're in a spiritual community, we have our annual meeting. What does ownership look like in spiritual community? Ownership, and this, by the way, is part of anything. Whatever you're, as we were talking about Stephanie, we're owners of being in a country. You might be part of an owner living in Livermore, participating in the Livermore community. A spiritual community. For whatever reason, you participate in different spiritual communities. You are showing up here for a reason. Why? What is it that you're looking for? Ownership is showing up and knowing why you're showing up and taking responsibility for what, responsibility is like a harsh word. The joy, because it's joyful, it's empowered. What I would say, responsible feels like it's the old word, you're responsible, versus empowerment. When we own why we're doing something, then we're empowered. Oh, I'm not doing it because someone's telling me to do it. I'm not doing it because I have to do it. I'm doing it because I want to do it, because I know my why. I know my why, and that gives me power. And then I'm going to do the what and the how. And so how that makes a difference in a spiritual community. And I was just, this just popped in my head as an example. Didn't ask for permission, but I'm just going to use it. I was thinking about Michelle and Yvonne doing the movie ministry. This is something that the two of them decided they wanted to do. I didn't ask them, nobody, the board didn't ask them. This was just like, we want to do this. Every Saturday, once a month, every Saturday, they hold a movie night here in our community. How long have you been doing this for, would you say? Oh, easily more than a year, yeah. So we know, as a community, that on the first Saturday of every month, there's going to be a movie night here. Because they chose to create this event for our community. That's ownership. But ownership can take different ways. So I'm just going to use them, I'm going to continue to use this as an example. So they have owned, they did it together. Let's do this together. So if one of them isn't available, the other one's available. Sometimes it's both of them, sometimes it's one. Really works well in pairs. They do movie night. Let's say 10 people from our community decided, I want to make a commitment to movie night, so I'm going to go to movie night once a month for an entire year. And when I show up, this is how I'm going to own this experience of going to movie night. When I show up, I'm going to bring a friend, because I want to share this experience with somebody in my community, with my spiritual community. I'm not asking them to be part of the church. I'm just asking them to come with me to movie night. So every time I go once a month to movie night, I'm going to bring a friend. I'm also going to make a little financial donation. Grateful. I know we always have the leftover food, so I know they bring a lot of food. Just for the time and effort that it takes to put movie night, I'm going to give a little financial. It doesn't have to be large, just a little. Let's say they just do $5. I'm going to make a little financial donation. I'm also going to make the commitment that when I come to movie night, I'm going to stay afterward for the dialogue, and this is just a commitment you're making to yourself. They're not making it to anyone, the leaders. They're not making just in your own self. When I go to movie night, I'm going to show up, give a little financial donation, or maybe they'll bring food. You'll bring food yourself, or maybe you'll just bring something. How you're going to donate something: time, treasure, talent. I'm also going to commit to participating in the conversation afterwards, that I'm going to commit to at least saying one thing in the group afterwards. When we're all talking, I'm going to come to the table participating. Which means that when you're watching the movie, you're going to be also thinking, I wonder what it is that I want to share today watching this movie when I have the conversation afterwards. That's going to make watching the movie different, because now I'm watching the movie not just for myself or is it entertaining me. I'm watching to participate later. So suddenly, so in church world, and it has two groups of people. We need all of them. So it's not to say what's better and what's worse. It's just saying where am I and where do I want to go to. In the church lingo, there's the group we call receivers and those we call owners. Receivers are people who just come on a Sunday or maybe just go to a movie, they watch the movie, they leave. Or they come to a Sunday service, you go to the service, you get fed, you leave. That's what we call receivership. It's beautiful, sometimes you need it, sometimes you're going through healing, or maybe you're just not ready to commit. That's fine. All communities, spiritual communities, have people who are receivers. But that's different than people who come to the community as owners. And what brings a community alive, full of energy, full of joy, are the owners, because participation, right? If you have a dinner party and someone's just sitting at the dinner party and they're not saying anything and they're not participating and they're just sort of sitting in the corner quietly, it impacts the energy of, like, come on, say something. Now, that's what Sunday services and movies are for. They're for a receiver, but it's also, if you want to have a spiritual community, we need a lot of owners to bring it alive. And what they're finding, what I keep hearing in all these discussions that I do listen to, that with AI, the going and everything becoming technical, the going idea is the greatest commodity right now is in-person community. That people have so much time online, so much technical stuff. What people are craving is connection with other people. So being part of a spiritual community where you're participating and owning, you're bringing something that's very needed. And it might not serve the entire cosmos, but it can serve the community in which you live. Like, oh, I am owning and participating in a community where I'm having human interactions with other people. How awesome is that? And so just looking at the movie thing, if you just had, let's say those 10 people who are then bringing at least one, who make a commitment for 1 year just to come once a month and bring one friend, that's 20 people that Michelle and Yvonne can count. Oh, we're going to have 20 people. It makes it more interesting for Michelle and Yvonne, too. More people are coming. More people are going to be engaged in the discussion. Oh, there's time, treasure, and talent being offered. And suddenly that movie night becomes something that's very alive and active. And what happens? More people want to come because they want to be around that energy. This is what people are craving. But notice, nobody made that happen. There was no, like, we have to do this. It comes from every person owning. Where do you want to put your energy? Because anywhere you choose to put your energy and you own it, and other people are also putting their energy and they're owning our time, treasure, talent, it brings things alive. It makes it real and vital. And so as a beautiful, radiant Lighthouse community, we're asking ourselves that question, like, what do you want to own? What do you want to own about being part of this community? And it can look differently. Notice the person who's coming and just sharing a comment after service, just bringing a friend. That's different than the role that Michelle and Yvonne are playing. They're different roles in a community. It doesn't all look the same, but it's just saying, whatever role that I can, I'm going to participate and play that role. And that's what brings a community alive. That's who we... And so Michelle says, come to movie night. So we get an opportunity as leaders of light, and we are leaders first, foremost of ourselves. What is the vision for our life? What are we growing into? And what do I want to take ownership of? What do I want to take ownership in my own life? And that's all of you will we don't have a choice. We are being forced to by the world that's happening around us. What do I want to take ownership in my life? What do I want to nurture myself with? What do I want to care for myself? What do I want to take responsibility? All of that is yours. And then being a participant in the Lighthouse community. I'm just not there. I'm just in the receivership. And if that's where you are, we love you, and you are absolutely accepted and welcomed here, and we want you here. That might be just where you are, and that's great. You might be on the border between receiver and ownership. I don't know, that's fine too. This is no have to. But if you want to be part of a living, vibrant community, then you get to bring that. If I want to be part of an owner, if I want movie night to be thriving, I don't just say, hey, all you go, I have to go. And I have to own that. If I want a spiritual community that's alive, I have to show up and own how I create that. I'm creating that by saying yes. Every time Jerry does the membership thing, what does she always say? The church isn't the walls. The church is made up of the people. And that's all of you. And every one of you are leaders of light. And however that light within you is saying yes, spiritually, in every area of your life, yes. And spiritually, what does that look like? Being a leader of light within a spiritual community. Because, as I was saying, leaders like being around other leaders. There might be differences of how you lead or whatever, but you like being around other leaders because you're with people who are really committed to the same thing you're committed to. So as all of you embrace, whatever way you're ready to embrace, being an owner and a leader of light in the Lighthouse, that isn't pushing anyone else out. That's saying, yes, we want all of you to be leaders of light. We want it to be a community of people, of owners, as much as possible, to welcome those who are in need of receivers, and we as owners take care of those people who are in the receiving stage. But as we grow and evolve, there's sometimes that moment of greater ownership. Like, I've been receiving a lot. Now do I want to keep receiving or do I want to step into ownership? So I think I'd like to end today, rather than saying a prayer, I think I just want us to say affirmations. And they're really self-affirmations, but I also think it's nice to look at each other because you're all looking at me all the time. So just if you can stand to get in a circle, if you can't stand, just stay seated and people will come and surround you. But to the extent that you can stand in a circle, and this is going to be our prayer route. We're doing affirmations instead of a prayer today. You don't have to hold hands. Well, you can if you want, but I do want you're saying affirmations for yourself, but you're not. But you're in a community, so we're also recognizing the community even as we're saying our own affirmations. So. I have thoughts. Oh, repeat after me. Sorry. I have thoughts. I own all my thoughts. I have feelings. I own all my feelings. By the way, thank you online for joining us. Turn on your cameras. I have thoughts. I have feelings. I have a body. I own all of my body. I have creativity. I own all of my creativity. I have wisdom. I own all of my wisdom. I have vitality. I own all of my vitality. I have a spiritual community. I own my spiritual community and my role in it. I have a soul. I own my soul, and my soul owns me. I love God. I love myself, and I love you. I love God. I love myself. And I love you. One last time. I love God. I love myself. And I love you. We are grateful. We are thankful. We let it be. And so it is. Hallelujah.
I walk in God in all I do. I walk in God in all